I Am Somebody, a true story of courage, identity, and hope. Before sunrise, while most of Chennai still slept, a lone girl chased a worn out football across a dusty courtyard. Her name was Srimathi. Every kick echoed through the quiet morning air. Every touch carried a dream that had just been taken away. Because while her teammates were preparing to represent India at the Street Child World Cup in Mexico, Srimati had been told she couldn't go. Not because she lacked talent, not because she wasn't selected, but because of a piece of paper, a government document, a mistake, and a system that refused to see her. Yet every morning she kept practicing, as if the dream still belonged to her. A home for the forgotten Srimati lived at Karunalaya, a shelter in Chennai that became home to children the world had forgotten. Some girls had been rescued from railway stations, some from child labor, some from violence and neglect. Most arrived carrying fear. But Karunalaya gave them something they had never truly known before: safety, education, hope, and football. To outsiders, football looked like a game. To the girls, it was much more. It taught discipline. It built confidence. It showed them that their lives could become bigger than their circumstances. Among those girls, Srimati stood out, not because she was loud, not because she demanded attention, but because she never stopped trying, no matter how difficult life became. The dream of Mexico. Then came the news that changed everything. A team from Karunalaya had been selected to travel to Mexico and represent India at the 2026 Street Child World Cup. The shelter exploded with excitement. Many of the girls had never been on an airplane. They studied maps, practiced speaking English, imagined meeting children from around the world. For the first time, they could see a future beyond survival. And Srimati was supposed to be part of it. Then, bureaucracy stepped in. Her birth certificate contained an error, a simple mistake that incorrectly identified her as a boy. Correcting that mistake took 8 long months. 8 months of paperwork, 8 months of waiting, 8 months of proving who she already was. By the time the correction was completed, another obstacle appeared. The embassy required parental authorization, but the parents who had abandoned her could not be found. Karunalaya had legal documents. The Child Welfare Committee recognized the shelter as her guardian. Still, it wasn't enough. The answer came back, rejected. One word, one decision, one dream shattered. As teens, grace in defeat. That evening, while the others packed their bags for Mexico, Srimati quietly folded jerseys and organized equipment. No tears, no complaints, just silence. Her teammate and captain, Pavitra, sat beside her. "You should have been coming with us," she said softly. Srimati looked down at the jersey in her hands. "I know." Nothing more needed to be said. The world stage days. Later, the team arrived in Mexico City. The world felt enormous. New languages, new faces, new possibilities. Children from more than 20 countries gathered together, each carrying their own story, each fighting to be seen. When India's first match against Wales began, nerves filled the air. But these girls had survived things far scarier than football. The whistle blew, the game unfolded. Every pass carried belief. Every tackle carried determination. Then came the breakthrough. A goal. The net rippled. For a moment, time stood still. Then the celebration erupted. India had defeated Wales. Thousands of kilometers away, Karunalaya exploded with joy. The girls screamed. The counsellors cried. And Srimati smiled. Because even though she wasn't on the field, she was still part of the journey, making history. The victories continued. The team reached the semi-finals. Reporters wanted interviews. Photographers wanted pictures. Children who had once been invisible were suddenly being celebrated. But throughout the tournament, one thought remained. Srimati should have been here. Every achievement carried her absence. Every photograph had a missing face. The lesson beyond football. Then came the semi-final against Brazil. The Indian girls fought with everything they had. They ran, they tackled, they believed. But Brazil proved too strong. When the final whistle blew, the dream of becoming champions was over. The players sat quietly on the grass, exhausted, heartbroken. Pavitra stared at the field. Then she thought of Srimati, practicing before sunrise, continuing despite rejection, continuing despite injustice, continuing because giving up would mean letting the world decide her worth. And suddenly, the loss felt smaller, because the greatest victory had never been the trophy. It was resilience. I am somebody. During the tournament's Congress session, children from around the world shared their stories. Stories of homelessness, child labor, violence, abandonment, fear. The Indian girls spoke about Karunalaya, about survival, about hope, and about a teammate who had been denied the chance to travel because a system failed to recognize her reality. The room fell silent, not out of pity, but out of understanding, because every child there wanted the same thing: to be seen, to be counted, to matter. Above them hung the tournament's message: I am somebody. Simple words, but powerful enough to change a life. The return home. When the team finally returned to Chennai, Karunalaya welcomed them home like heroes. The younger girls crowded around them, asking questions, touching medals, dreaming bigger dreams. Across the courtyard stood Srimati, smiling. Pavitra walked over and hugged her. No words, just understanding. The final moment. The next morning, before dawn, Srimati returned to the football field. The same worn ball, the same dusty ground, the same quiet sky, but something inside her had changed. For years, she believed dignity came from documents, approvals, signatures, permission. Now she understood the truth. Dignity begins within. It survives rejection. It survives neglect. It survives every system that refuses to see you. The ball rolled toward her. She stopped it gently beneath her foot. The first rays of sunlight touched the field. The city slowly began to wake. And in that ordinary moment, she whispered the words that changed everything. I am somebody. No crowd heard her. No cameras recorded it. No trophy followed. But for the first time, she truly believed it. And that belief was worth more than any championship, because the world did not decide her value. She did. And from that moment on, she was no longer invisible. She was seen. Most importantly, she finally saw herself.